creating music. Um, the creative process for me is just so much fun. It's like when things are clicking when I'm making music, it feels amazing. It feels like everything comes natural. I don't have to really try too hard or think so much about what I'm doing. It just kind of comes like naturally. It flows out. I kind of just feel and then make my music from that feeling or that emotion that I'm feeling in that moment, if that makes sense. But that's my favorite part. The making music is the most amazing part of this. Just want to let you know right now, I love making music. It brightens my day. Every time I make a really good song that I love, like I can't help but like listen to it 1,000 times. So that's like, for me, the happiest I am is making music. There's rough patches. It is important to kind of be in that flow. Some days I'll be in the studio trying to create, and I'll struggle just like everybody else. You know, we're all human, so like I think everybody's creative process is different, and sometimes we're not on the money, right? Like an athlete, kind of like an athlete. And when I'm in those moments, I kind of like I'll try to make something, and if I can't, then I won't force it. Like I'll just like step away from it. You know, tell my engineer to, you know, like let's just call it for right now because I'm just not feeling it today. But it is important for me to be feeling what I'm making. I think that's where the best music comes from. If I'm not feeling it, you're probably gonna hear it. So it's not really good for me to continue to try to force that, if that makes sense. First memory of music, I used to dance to Usher and Michael Jackson when I was a baby. Had to be like 5 or 6, probably a little bit younger actually. But I used to dance. Another memory, probably like 11, 10. I used to sing John Legend's "Ordinary People," which is one of my favorite. Was one of my favorite songs. I know every word, no matter where I hear it. Um, and then, yeah, those are like my two earliest memories. I used to run around my aunt's house singing "Ordinary People." Um, that's a good question. I I don't really know. So when I really got into music, as far as like the performing side of it, was in elementary school, and I was in the choir, so I was singing for the choir, which is more like, you know, it was more like a group effort, and it was like religious singing kind of, if that makes sense. And I don't know if that stuck with him because I kind of like did that throughout elementary school, but then I went through a lot of like stress throughout elementary school, so I kind of like got away from doing music at that time. I found it again a long time later, but I've kind of never had that conversation. I don't think with my parents about whether they thought I was gonna be, you know, like I don't know if they thought like this was gonna be my path. Um, Mom's intuition, I think she knows, but that's a good question. I've got to ask him that. I really feel like people don't see it the way that I see it. They kind of just assume I'm just just another artist making music because there's so many now and it's so saturated that I feel like I'm gonna answer both. Okay, I'm gonna answer both. So I feel like other people's outlook is just, oh yeah, he makes music, but it's kind of just like so does everybody else, and they kind of group me in with everybody else, and I feel like they don't take what I do serious, even though I take what I do very serious and I see a future. I feel like they don't see that. That's okay. You're entitled to feel how you want to feel, but just know like I'm gonna change that as we go through this process of making music. So I'll change their minds later. But if I could change that now, I don't see why I wouldn't, right? And then as far as me and my belief in myself, It's tough. That's a tough like question for me right now. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to gather the data right now, but I can't. I guess my belief, and like something that I would change, is just like that feeling that I feel when it's not happening as quick as I want it to, right? Because I think that's what brings me down. There's a lot of pressure on me as far as like, because I have a kid and you know, and I have something I have to build for. And with that pressure, I feel like I put myself down, even though I know I'm really talented and I believe in that wholeheartedly. I just feel like when it doesn't happen as fast as I've anticipated or as I planned, it can get stressful, kind of wears on me. And that can put me in funks where I have these writer's blocks and I just don't know what to say. Nothing's coming out. I can't write it down. But as far as other beliefs, I'm supremely confident in what I do and my music and how I present it. Yes, absolutely. I think it's more or less the pressure of having a son. I had him at what, 21, 22. He's gonna be 4 now, and so it's like, you know, a lot of my friends and my peers have careers, like full-on careers that they've kind of got set, and mine doesn't feel as sturdy yet. So for me, it's like I got that pressure. It adds like 100 times the amount of pressure that someone might normally have, because you know, artists don't have that pressure. They can just kind of just have the fun. When I was younger, I could just have the fun. I could just make the music whenever I felt it, perform whenever I felt it. Now it feels like I have to support this human being, and that just amplifies everything by 1,000. It kind of fucks with me so much. It fucks with me so much. Excuse my language. But that can be a killer for me sometimes. That's like the hardest part of the music for me. Not knowing when it's gonna work. But I still keep the faith that it's gonna work at some point. I probably wouldn't be making music right now if I didn't have them. Because I had stopped and kind of fell into like a really long, really bad funk where I just like stepped away from performing, stepped away from creating, stepped away from everything. And if not for him, I don't think I'd be chasing it as hard as I am right now. Nor would I have the pressure that I do, but I feel like the pressure is good and bad because the pressure can weigh on me, but the pressure can also be my motivation as well because I know like I can't be a loser. Like that cannot happen. I have a kid, I have to support him. Like being a loser, like can't be a thing for me. So that's my motivation, right? So it's like it not only does it stress me out and it wears me out and it takes a really big toll, but it also like pushes me like you have to do this. If not for yourself, for your kid. It's gonna work at some point. I just don't want him to, I don't want him to give up on what he wants to do. Just because of the weight of the people around him, but also, like, even if he has a kid and feels like, damn, you know, I want him to do what he loves and make a career out of that, just as I am right now. So what a better way to show him than to do what I love and make something of it. I think every artist has. Every artist at one point kind of like looks in the mirror and they're like, is this gonna work? Am I good enough? What am I missing? What am I doing wrong? And I think that conversation is had several times a month. You know, I still have that conversation with myself every now and then. But I know something's got to give. You know, I hear what's out. I hear the music that's out currently, and I hear all of these artists and these entertainers and these performers, and I'm just like, I know I'm good, you know? Not to bring anybody down. I just know that I got the potential to be greater. It's hard. I don't like to put my feelings on other people, so I kind of just like bottle it in. It may affect the writing process for a little bit, but eventually I kind of break out of the funks, and that's when some of my best stuff are written. Um, One thing that helps me with the lows is telling myself that I'm like born for this, you know, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I wouldn't be this good if I weren't meant to be doing it. And that kind of gets me through, even if it doesn't fully get me through in that moment. Over time, it'll kind of gradually kind of go away or fade, that feeling. But another thing that helps is creating. You know what I'm saying? Getting my best friend, Il Retro, my producer, engineer, getting him in the studio and having him play some beats, and we just kind of like piggyback off of ideas to come up with some new songs, and that kind of breaks me out of those funks as well. Creating breaks funks for me. Not all the time, because sometimes, like I said, sometimes I have the writer's block, but when I hit a kind of like a groove, that kind of breaks me out that funk. Then I'll make a song and I'm like, nah, this is so good. So that'll make me feel a lot better about everything happening.